now we're gonna get some personal opinions. The first person we're gonna interview by phone is Mr. Francisco, the campus minister at Seton Catholic High School. Are you there, Mr. Francisco?
Oh, hello. How's it going?
Welcome. The first question: what are your thoughts on the general topic of suicide?
Very sad that people resort to taking their own lives, and it just makes me wonder what happened, because life is so precious. Suicide in the church, when that happens, you're basically damned to hell.
Very interesting. How would you talk to someone you suspected was suicidal?
They just need someone to listen, someone to hear their story, not so much fix it.
Okay. How do you think our society has affected suicidal youth?
A lot of apathy where people just don't care. It's a lot of me attitude. It's almost you against the world. I see a lot of pressures on youth of growing up, those high expectations, stress, consequences of what's going to happen.
Do you think there are enough resources for suicide?
Yeah, there's just a matter of finding there.
And finally, what advice would you give teens who suspect a friend is suicidal?
I would tell them to find a trusted adult. First off, their parents or a counselor or someone they really trust to find the help. And then just keep an eye on their friend and just be there.
That's all. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Francisco.
We have an interview today also with Carolyn Jonas. Carolyn Jonas, hello, over to you.
Hello.
What are your thoughts on the general topic of suicide?
I think it's really depressing and sad that someone would have to resort to suicide, and just kind of makes me wonder how they got that far and how it got so bad.
Okay, how would you talk to someone that you thought was suicidal?
I would just try to talk to them and just go through about how things got that bad, and I would try and earn their trust so that they know they're loved.
How do you think our society has affected suicidal youth?
Well, the way the media portrays like a sort of perfection image, and people think they have to meet it or they're a failure, so it's kind of bad.
Do you think there are enough resources for suicide?
I think there's enough resources, I just don't know if the people use it, and it's just a matter of being able to find it, and I don't know if kids would want to talk to some old guy, so it'd have to be something that they felt comfortable going to.
Okay, and finally, what advice would you give to a teen that you thought was suicidal?
Well, I would ask them to go talk to a school counselor, maybe someone who's been trained in that area and knows what to do, because sometimes talking to friends could lead you down the wrong path because they don't have all the information.
Okay, thank you, Carolyn, for your time. Over to you, Kevin.
Our final interview is with our news correspondent, Andrea Jonas. She'll be interviewing the anonymous Laurel. Over to you, Andrea.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm Andrea here with Laurel, who wishes to remain anonymous for her own safety. Laurel?
Hello, I'm Laurel.
Okay, so what are your general thoughts on the topic of suicide?
Well, suicide is depressing and sad. Makes you wonder how a person got so far that they think they don't have any options.
True. So how would you talk to someone you suspected was suicidal?
Well, I'd say you have to befriend them and be there to listen.
That's good advice. How do you think our society has affected suicidal youth?
Well, in my opinion, the media, especially in girls like me, portrays perfection.
That they do. Do you think there are enough resources for suicide?
There are enough resources, but most are too far that they probably wouldn't use them.
And what advice would you give teens who suspect a friend is suicidal?
Well, I have to say to be kind and listen to them. Don't outright confront them. Include them in activities to make them feel loved and give them a reason for loving.
Good advice. Back to you, Evan.
Thank you, Andrea and Laurel. The next topic is suicide help on the web. Suicide is not chosen. It happens when pain exceeds resources for coping with pain. This quote is from metanoia.org. This site takes time to help talk a person contemplating suicide through why and what they can do. They talk about emotions and try to connect with the reader. They use 5 main points to appeal to the people and keep them reading, and ask the reader to call someone for help, like a suicide hotline. So please visit www.metanoia.org to help with if you are contemplating suicide or if someone you know is contemplating suicide.
Back to me. We are talking about the option of suicide today. Basically, you have the choice of how you choose your life. You have the choice of ending your life soon or living it out like God wants you to. If you need help, you can contact a family member or a friend. You can contact a doctor or a mental health center. You can go to your local hospital emergency room, or you can call a crisis or hotline.
Now we will talk about some of the effects of attempted suicide. Some of the emotional effects include depression, which if you would hate yourself or others for not being able to rid yourself of suffering. And also you may start to have statements or expressions of guilt feelings because you tried to commit suicide and you feel ashamed for that. This can also lead to tension or anxiety and not being able to rest. Also due to nervousness because you're afraid of what surrounds you and also what others think of you for trying to commit suicide. And also you become more impulsive, like acting on urges. Also there are physical effects. One of the most obvious effects is, of course, from suicide is of course killing yourself. Also other physical effects from failed suicide include hurting a part of your body if you do fail. And also you may have sporadic feelings such as ecstasy. And also, one of the physical causes that leads to suicide is the love drug serotonin, which controls emotions and judgment of the body, making bad decisions and greater risk of suicide.
I'm here to talk about the effects of failed suicide. You may become paralyzed or hurt yourself very badly. This is also from cutting yourself or attempting to kill yourself. It can cause major damage to any ligaments. It will also send anybody into a deep depression. They will no longer want to live their lives with joy or, excitement anymore. They will also have a feeling of guilt inside them that they're hurting other people around them and that they're hurting themselves. There's remorse. It tears apart one's family. It takes the bond away and they're no longer conjoined like they were before. You would be embarrassed because if you fail and say you come back to work the next day and people know about it, how are you going to feel? And you'll also need counseling, someone to sit there and talk to you about what you've been doing and how it's been hurting you emotionally and physically and just to see what you can do to fix the problem if needed. And that is our topic for today. Thank you for being on the air. I'm CJ Crowley.
I'm Kevin Zeck.
Thank you.
See you later.
It says not to even in the morning for one who. Oh crap! It says not to even morning. It says not to even.
Laurel. The next part of this. Andrea and Laurel. Suicide help on the web. Is not chosen. It happens when pain exceeds resources for coping with pain.